Hello and welcome to episode 242 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and we're calling you on a hugely big upset Sunday so far in the NFL.
Maybe
And the wise guys in Vegas have to be laughing their butts off today.
daylight savings threw everybody off.
Something threw everybody off because it's unbelievable that Jacksonville would beat Buffalo 9-6.
Yeah, I was like 9-6 was the shocker that the Bills couldn't put any points up against them.
Yeah. I mean, I was blown away, and then the fact that the Cowboys were losing 16-0 at one point and came back and put a few meaningless scores up. But I was, I know sometimes when you're out as a quarterback, it takes you a while to come back, get your timing and everything, but still, Denver hadn't shown me anything.
And they just traded Von Miller, so you assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assumed that would be a laugher. And I also didn't expect the Browns, after putting up 10 points against the Steelers, to put up 40-some points against the Bengals.
It looked like the Browns everybody thought they were going to be in preseason.
Yes.
But
predictably, the Packer offense, without the world's most selfish quarterback leading them, they look like he hasn't played in a real game. That's how they look.
Yeah.
Kind of sad.
And again, I mean, we can go into it a little bit more, but when he complained about you trading up to draft Jordan Love, and Jordan Love's now in season 3, I think. Or he's been on the team at least over a year. I mean,
yeah.
For him to look this bad in the
yeah, it's definitely 2 full years. This could be the third year.
I think this is year 3. Yeah, and it doesn't. When he says we need Randall Cobb back, and Randall Cobb's having a nice year, he says this guy you shouldn't have drafted him, and he's looking terrible. Because obviously, if you're the GM and the Packers, I assume probably some of the teammates after what Rodgers did, you'd probably be like, let's go whoop this team's butt and let's make Jordan Love look awesome, and he doesn't.
Yeah, what's incredible is that they never let this guy work out with the first team guys. And Aaron Rodgers holds that team hostage.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of him. There's no question. They're afraid of the market. They're afraid of their stockholders. They're afraid of they're afraid. And he's getting away with way too much. And then the fact they weren't even they knew he wasn't vaccinated. And they weren't enforcing any of the stuff, letting him slide. It's just a bad message in a team sport.
And it sounds like the other general managers and coaches of other teams have been very vocal that they are not happy with the way the Packers did things.
No.
And again,
I'm hoping there's a fine and a suspension here somewhere.
Well, I wanted to play a fun game of let's look who's actually good in the AFC.
Okay.
So in the AFC East, at 5-3, the Bills are in first. You know who's in second place at 5-4? The Patriots. In the AFC East.
Yeah, they won again today.
They won again today, and they're a young. They've got some nice pieces slowly coming together. We didn't think they'd make the playoffs, but now, I don't know.
And their rebuild is going to be much faster than anybody thought.
Yeah. Well, they drafted the lowest floor guy in Mac Jones.
Yep.
And he's been the best rookie quarterback.
It's interesting how he just fell to them.
He did.
They didn't have to do anything. They had to make a trade. They had to give up anything, and everybody knew they wanted a quarterback.
It's true. All right, because those are our two teams that everyone else in that division, the Dolphins and the Jets, are both terrible.
Agreed.
We'll save our Steeler division for the last, but then you go to the AFC West. The Chiefs are 4-4. Denver's 5-4. Chargers are 4-3, and Vegas is in first place at 5-3. And I don't like any of those teams.
And Vegas lost today to the Giants.
Vegas lost to the Giants.
Yeah, and I thought the Chargers were. A couple weeks ago, I was all on the Charger bandwagon, and now I don't know what happened.
No. Then we go to AFC South. The Titans are 6-2, but they just lost Derrick Henry, and that's, as big a loss as losing to. a
I
quarterback.
don't think Adrian Peterson's going to be the answer, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see, but I can't imagine it. The Colts are 4-5, Jacksonville 2-6, and the Texans are 1-8. So then we move to the AFC North, where the Ravens, who squeaked out a victory against the Vikings, are 6-2.
Vikings.
Our Steelers, 4-3, are in second place. But the Cleveland Browns are 5-4, and the Bengals are 5-4. So every team in that division, winning record.
Has a winning record. Yeah.
But looking at it right now, who do you like in the AFC?
Well,
If somebody's like,
let's go right back where you were.
yeah,
So, I definitely like Tennessee, and I don't see anybody in that division catching them. In the West, God, it's hard to say. You keep thinking Kansas City's going to get hot, but I'm watching them right now while we're talking, and they just don't look good
no.
at all. The Chargers have shown me that they have a weakness. The Raiders aren't that good, and I wasn't impressed with the Broncos. That was wide open. I couldn't pick anybody there.
Right.
I think it's going to be last man standing there.
I mean, and this is obviously some recency bias, but when we go to the AFC East, if Jacksonville can hold Buffalo to 6 points, I think New England can do it too.
Yeah.
And they're now a game back,
Everybody had, I was watching the Talking Heads today, and they were all singing Buffalo and Dallas.
Yeah.
And they're all singing, and what happens, both of them lose to really teams that had no business beating them.
No. And again, if we're talking Buffalo-Jacksonville, if Buffalo's defense was off today and your MVP quarterback candidate and Josh Allen, you put up 40, but Trevor Lawrence and Agnew got hot, they block a punt, return a kick, and they win like 42-40 or 35-33, then you're sort of like, oh, okay. But you got beat both ways against the Jacksonville Jaguars today, and that's just unthinkable.
I know. So, entering the weekend, and when I was listening to Teddy Bruschi today talking about Dallas, and they won last weekend without Dak, and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? This team really could be special. Now, am I going to buy into the Rams bandwagon? Well, we were bought in the Rams to start the year, and now they've added Von Miller. I don't see any reason why I'm less bullish on the Rams than I was a month ago.
No.
So I'm into the Rams.
You can't ignore Arizona, apparently.
You can't ignore Arizona, but I'm definitely not into the Saints or the Falcons. And the Bucks look like they could beat everybody but the Saints.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's interesting. But we had the Bucks in the Super Bowl. I don't know that now. I'm thinking, I probably like the Rams more than I like anybody else right now.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see.
And the Steelers have yet to play a game this week. If they win on Monday night, they're 5-3, and then they get Detroit. So, and Tomlin teams have not fared well against teams they're supposed to beat, but
No, and they've beat Detroit for a while.
Yeah. But like you said,
They
you
always
got
lose a game they shouldn't lose.
yeah.
They always lose to a ridiculous team that's really not good, and you can't understand how they lost. But that's the one they lose to.
No, but I would say, and this is our Homer section of the podcast, I think as I watch New England sort of starting to get better as their quarterback sort of finds his way, I think the Steelers, who already have a really good defense, as the offensive line sort of gels and allow Najee Harris to do more Najee Harris stuff, they're also sort of peaking at the better,
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's hard to imagine it's not Rams, Bucks, Cardinals out of the NFC. But you could tell me 9 teams out of the AFC, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised.
No, I mean it's just so wide open right now. It's totally different, and that's the beauty of the NFL. I mean, you got to play every week, and on any given day, as they say, any given Sunday.
Yeah. It's not just a movie with Jamie Foxx.
Sunday, any given Monday, or any given Thursday.
That's true. And again, we still have Sunday night's game where the Rams play, so we could be talking the Rams up, and they get Von Miller, and all of a sudden they lose tonight.
They could. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, you don't think Tennessee's going to win because they don't have Derrick Henry, and the Rams just picked up Von Miller, and so yeah, we'll have to see. But I don't know. The one team that scares me right now is the Browns.
Addition by subtraction, they
I
get a little.
realized the Browns of last week weren't the Browns.
No.
And I'm not sure the Browns of today were the Browns, but they do have an unbelievably talented roster. And if they're healthy, and if, they play like they're capable of, that's a good team.
Well, when you have a healthy Kareem Hunt and a healthy Nick Chubb in your backfield, and your offensive line is whole, that's a scary offense.
It is.
And they've been missing both those guys for the better part of the last 3 weeks. You saw Nick Chubb was back today, and I think I saw at one point he had 12 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown.
And the OBJ move is going to be addition through subtraction.
Yeah.
There's no distraction. He'll spread the ball around. Donovan Peoples-Jones will step up. Some other people will step up. They won't miss a beat.
And I know they're all being very nice, and I just feel like if you're OBJ and you're this season, right? I know he's 29, but like you're a free agent no matter what happens at the end of this season. I think to insinuate if you're not taken up by a contender, there might be a problem. I don't think that's the best PR move for you, right?
No, I don't think it was either. I think he's hoping he goes through unclaimed so he can negotiate his own deal.
Yeah. Well, because even if he goes to supposedly his preferred destination of the Los Angeles Rams, hop right on the front runner. You're not Cooper Kupp. You're not Robert Woods. And you might not even be Jefferson in that pecking order, You might be playing for third receiver snaps the rest of the season. And if you come out and say, if I'm not on a contender, I'm going to be a problem. If I'm a contender, I'm like, well, unless all my receivers are hurt and I desperately need you to come in and be my starter, you're coming in as my third or fourth guy. So I need to know you're not going to have a problem being the third or fourth guy,
Yeah.
Yeah, well. And if the pros weren't wacky enough, college football.
Michigan State goes down to Purdue. So Purdue's beat 2 teams ranked in the top 5 this year.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if Purdue got ranked this week, if they're in the top 25. So, I mean, just incredible that happened. But as I told you offline, every one of the talking heads called that upset. So if they all called it, how's it an upset?
That's a good point.
I mean, I realize it was coming off the Michigan game, and sometimes it's hard to get back to earth after a game like that. And you do have, what do you have left? You have Penn State and Ohio State left. So you get some big games left. But I think, to me, if everybody's telling you you're in trouble, you're the upset pick, you're the one we're scared about, then, you'd think you would have been prepared for it.
Yeah.
And then Wake Forest lost, but unbelievable game. Last year it was in the 50s, and this year it was in the 50s.
Oh, yeah. And it was nice seeing Wake Forest.
I enjoyed watching that game. Both those quarterbacks are really good.
Yeah. I guess we can transition to a quarterback that didn't look very good. I was all excited, as I told you, for Malik Willis at the beginning of the year to be the Steeler quarterback.
Against Mississippi. Mississippi doesn't have a good defense.
No. And I know the line is banged up and they're clearly the inferior team, but he looks like an Auburn transfer that gets to beat up on low teams and then struggles against some of the better teams. So.
In his defense, though, the talking heads said that both he and Corral will both be first
Yeah, but I think that's more based on quarterback need and, when you got, if you want the quarterback, you got to go get him.
Yeah,
But Georgia looked awesome on defense again.
absolutely did. And my Oklahoma State Cowboys looked awesome on defense.
Yeah, they did.
They gave up 3 points again, and they didn't give up 200 yards total.
No.
And I think they gave up at one time in the game through three quarters. I think they'd given up 1 yard rushing.
That's pretty
So they'll
incredible.
move in the top 10. But and Michigan State fell down. Florida lost again to Florida lost to South Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's football in the state of Florida. I mean, Florida and Florida State are both. I think they're both sub 500 teams right now.
I think they are. And then the other elephant in the room was Alabama did not.
But the 4 and 5.
Yeah. And Alabama did not look great yesterday either against LSU.
No, they did not. And Cincinnati did not look good against Tulsa, and they should have lost. I don't know if you saw any of the plays for that, but Tulsa's quarterback was going in for the winning touchdown, and for some reason slid.
Yeah.
On the 1 yard line, and then they stopped them on 4th down.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense. But it does seem like the committee's going to have their hands full trying to justify who's getting in when we get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming Georgia continues to be Georgia, Georgia's an easy one. But, I mean, if Alabama's got 2 losses, I just don't see how you can put them in. You can't set their precedent of a 2-loss team.
I don't think Alabama gets in with 2 losses, but it depends on what everybody else has.
Yeah.
So you've got Oregon. I think Oregon's got Utah left. I think that would be their toughest game, and that one's coming up. You got Ohio State, who still has Michigan and Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where that's going to go.
No. It's crazy.
But in all reference, so you have to expand. You have to expand that playoff.
You do.
You've got to have other teams in there.
And
It's just not right.
I know the haves don't want to let the have-nots in, as a microcosm for America. But I think the UCF, Cincinnati, Coastal Carolinas of the world have to get a seat at the table too.
I agree.
Even if they get in and get blown out 3 or 4 years in a row, it's fun to watch those teams.
We'd have less to talk about, but there'd be 12 teams in there.
Yeah.
Or 8 teams, whatever they decide to do. I just think it's a good idea.
I think so. Would you want me to tell you another crazy story?
Yeah.
Right now, and granted, I know we're 10 games into the NBA season, the Bulls, Knicks, Wizards, Cavs, and Raptors would all be in the Eastern playoffs. The Milwaukee Bucks, the Atlanta Hawks, the Boston Celtics, and the Pacers would not be.
Wow.
And again,
It is crazy.
it's 10 games in, but I mean,
No, but still.
I mean, Brooklyn's right of the ship. Brooklyn is 7-3. Milwaukee though 4-5. The Celtics 4-6, and they've got a lot of issues there. And the hot Atlanta Hawks from the Eastern Conference 4-6, and the Pacers, who everybody thought were going to be good 3-7, and then you got Cavs at 6-4, Wizards at 6-3. It's pretty nuts, right?
For sure. Hey, let me ask you a question. We didn't talk about this yet, so I'm going to throw this at you. Have you seen the Heat's new uniforms?
I like them.
I do too, because every one of those, each number or each letter is from a different era of the Heat, a different uniform, and I think it looks cool.
You know what other city uniform I love?
I think it's a nightmare for Nike to make,
Oh, I'm sure.
but I really do like it.
I like the Hawks yellow city uniforms. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I've seen those.
I mean, the NBA does a great
I don't like
job.
Oklahoma City's white on white though.
No. I think it's also harder for I know the Heat have done a really good job, but Miami really plays a part of that, and they've done a great job. But some of the newer teams,
Yeah, they do a really good job.
it's hard to kind of you don't have a lot of history or things to pull into the newer teams.
Yeah. Well, Miami got 3 years out of the Vice thing, and then so this was a good thing. This was going back. Even that, remember the year they did the Miami Floridians for the ABA, that pink and black thing?
Yeah, they look great.
Even that's in the logo thing. So
Yeah.
I was really impressed with it. They really had them all in there. But I've seen some Cavalier highlights, and I like the way they look.
Mobley looks awesome.
He does. He looks like if they can spread out the floor a little bit, give him some room to operate, he looks really good.
I mean, he's good with both hands. He's quick. He can play the 4 or the 5. And
Yes.
you can just watch guys you watched Wiseman last year, and Wiseman looked lost. And I know Golden State's a very high IQ offense. But Mobley has a high basketball IQ. You can just see it.
Well,
And
speaking of NBA, I watched Russ's highlights last night without LeBron or
AD.
in the lineup.
Yeah.
He was hideous.
Yeah, speaking of, the Lakers, Clippers, not in the playoffs as of this moment. So,
And I know I said on the last week's show, the show before, I'm not worried about the Lakers. They'll get together at some point in time during the year.
yeah.
I actually am starting to worry.
I'm a little nervous. I mean, and I can't quit Russ.
No, I can't either. But I'm just thinking I don't know, it just doesn't look right.
I did hear Kevin O'Connor, who's been, he's a big analytics guy that's very anti-Russ. But he actually made a plea to Russ, and he's like, the two biggest problems with your game are you seem to get real lackadaisical on defense, even though you're an amazing, intense athlete. That should be easy for you to solve. Because you watch them kind of float off guys and end up with wide open shots at the end of games. And he's like, and you're not a good 3-point shooter, so stop taking them. And it's those are...
Really good 3-point shooter.
No, but it's those are two things you would think Russ could do, he would raise his stock a ton.
Well, yeah, and eliminate all the haters, for sure.
Yeah. And then the only other NBA story, just because it's a local one, I mean, Zion, 300 pounds. Did you hear what Shaq and Chuck said?
No.
Charles Barkley, he made Shaq fall off his chair laughing. He's like, it looks like you and me had a baby.
That's pretty funny.
It is. But,
Pretty funny.
you got a guy that talks about not wanting to be there. Amazing when he's on the court. But now he's looking at a 1-9 team in New Orleans, a place he doesn't want to be for whatever reason. And, he's got, 2 knee surgeries. And now he's never really been, Charles basically said that, back in his day when it was okay to say this, Moses Malone was like, you're too fat, do something about it. Which you can't say nowadays, but that, it'd be nice if Zion, worked on his diet and, he's like he said, even with a foot injury, you can be on the exercise bike, you can be on the rowing machine. There's things you could be doing right now to get yourself in a position.
Yeah, and if you lost some weight, it would be better on that ankle.
Oh, yeah. And then, the other big story in the preseason was the Sixers. They're 8-2. And Ben continues to be a non-distraction distraction.
Addition through subtraction.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we say that all the time, but sometimes it is the right rule.
Well, especially when you look at some of the Ben Simmons stuff, it seems like he's not been the ideal teammate by any stretch. And then you look back, when he played at LSU and they won 11 games with him at LSU in the SEC. Didn't make the tournament. And you're like, and everyone's like, well, yeah, he's worried about the draft. It's stupid that he couldn't just go pro, so we had to do this for a year. But at the same time, you're like, you're that non-competitive that you couldn't bring an LSU team to a 500 record?
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
And then the other drama, because I just changed my fantasy basketball team to Marcus Smart is right, is my name, just because I have 2 Celtic fans in my league I like to drive crazy. But you saw Marcus Smart's comments, right?
Yeah, and he's right.
He's right. He's very right.
I'm surprised he called it out like that. He called it out.
But as people have speculated, like, he may have been trying to say these things through other means. And
Yeah, and it just didn't get done.
it didn't get done. Because he doesn't strike me as the guy that would go straight to the media.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like, he strikes me as the kind of player that would have probably tried to pull those guys aside and sort of, but it's sort of tough when they are the stars of the team and you're Marcus Smart.
And you're like the sixth man, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a weird situation. And then I guess congratulations to did we talk about the Braves since they won the series?
No, we did not talk about the Braves.
Okay, well, let's give them their flowers, as they say.
Yeah, they played well, and I was happy to see that because, well, again, I did not watch 1 minute of the World Series.
That was my next
happy
question.
The Braves won because I don't like the Astros, but I still hard to believe. And first time in my life, I didn't watch one inning of the World Series. And I mean, there's some players I like. I like Dansby Swanson. I like Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
I like Charlie Morton when he's not hurt. I mean, I did, but just I don't know. I just wasn't ready to watch it. I would have rather watched Coastal Carolina or something. I probably did one night. I'm more into watching the things that are. Football really is my imagination this year, and I'm watching a lot of the weeknight games that have like a Coastal Carolina or some of these teams in it. Like last night, I watched Houston and USF.
Oh wow!
And it was like 50-something to 40-something. And USF had a guy that ran back 2 kickoffs, and he had a 49-yard run from scrimmage. And I hadn't seen him. I mean, they play a lot of young kids. The quarterback's a freshman, and one of these guys was his teammate in high school, and you're playing these really young guys. And you're playing, and you're 2-7, and Houston 6-1, or 7-1. So I was finding it. I was kind of compelling. I was kind of watching it.
Yeah. Oh, and we forgot one weird thing from the Buffalo-Jacksonville game. It was the first time in history a defensive player with the same name as a quarterback made a sack.
Yeah, Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen.
Which is a fun little trivia thing, but at the same time, it seems like it'd be pretty rare in general. I mean, I think you rarely have two guys with the same name in the same game that wouldn't even have an opportunity to do that, let alone, what they're talking about.
Yeah, if it was Jimmy Johnson or John Johnson or Robert Smith, that wouldn't have been so. But Josh is not that common of a name.
No. Well, the AP poll came out. And in the AP poll, it's Georgia, Cincinnati 2, Alabama, Oklahoma, Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Michigan, Oklahoma State, rounding out the top 10.
Okay.
But that's the AP,
I don't
obviously.
have a problem with those teams. I might have a problem with the order, but
Yeah.
not the teams in the top 10.
No, but as you talked about, like, Ohio State plays Michigan State and Michigan. So that'll work itself out.
That'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
And so there's 3 teams there that'll take care of themselves.
And Oklahoma does play Oklahoma State.
And yeah, I think they played Baylor this week, but Baylor just lost to TCU, who had just fired their coach, and then they lost to TCU. TCU some ridiculous uniforms on too, purple and red.
Yeah,
you get to see it. They were kind of wild looking. I kind of liked them.
It is. So is Notre Dame a dark horse to sneak?
But there's a lot of all the Big 12 teams have to play each other. All the Big 10 teams have to play each other. The SEC teams really not until you get to the playoff.
Yeah.
And the ACC is kind of crazy.
Is Notre Dame a dark horse to end up in the top 5, top 4? Sitting at 8?
Because they don't have anybody on their schedule.
No.
Left. And they lost to Cincinnati. Yeah, I think they don't have a shot at getting in the Final Four.
Okay. Because like the AP, I know the AP poll is not the real poll, but I mean, they're sitting at 8-1 at number 7 in the country, and if somehow Michigan beats Michigan State, Michigan State beats Ohio State, Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma, Oregon gets locked off, and then all of a sudden they're sitting there. which is a lot to happen,
I
obviously.
guess, I can't say never.
Yeah.
I guess there's a way that it could all work out.
Now, what I laid out is pretty unlikely. I was just rambling, but yeah.
Yeah, because and then Oklahoma would have to beat Oklahoma State twice, or Oklahoma State's going to have to beat Oklahoma twice. To get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
The same team's going to have to win both of those games. If they split, let's say Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma in the regular season game, and then Oklahoma wins in the playoff game, I think they kind of canceled each other out.
Yeah. I would say so.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, did we have any other entertainment for you on your side?
I watched Dan's Arcane series last night. I watched the first episode, and not having played the video game,
Yeah.
I didn't find that it inhibited me from watching the story.
No, I know they said that there was a goal from the get-go.
And I know you're a big fan of the graphic animation,
Yeah.
and that was some of the best graphic animation I think I've ever seen.
Okay.
I don't know how they do that stuff, but I was really impressed with it. The clarity of the graphics and the detail and everything else. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
But we watched an hour of it. We'll watch it through now because I want to understand I want to watch the story now to see if I understand the story. But it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
I still have not watched my The Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos thing.
I have not watched it either.
And I keep meaning to watch it, but I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to try and watch it this week, I think.
Well, I watched 2 big movies this week. I watched The Green Knight finally.
Oh, how was it?
I was trying to think about this. It's really well done. I think A24 films in general. Usually if you ask me who my favorite writer, director, actor is, I just say A24, which is sort of a cop-out answer. But I sort of feel like A24 is like a fancy restaurant where even if you don't really like the main dish, you can't complain about the service or how well the quality of the food. Just because you don't enjoy the flavors doesn't mean you would have anything to say negative about the way it was cooked. And I think a lot of A24 films fall into that category where, they're always beautifully shot, incredible cinematography. They're people that understand color and color palette and frame. Everything that seems that people they hire really understand the art of cinema. But sometimes I think story and character get lost in presenting the art on some level.
Okay.
And I think I would have enjoyed this more if it was strictly closer to the original Small Story, from way back. And didn't veer off into other, deeper territories, which wasn't bad. It was like I enjoyed it. I just feel like I think it could have used a little bit of Marvelification, if you will.
Oh.
Just a little bit, just like a pinch. And then I watched Dune.
And?
It's definitely the first film in a series, for sure. Again, I think that director is a really good director, and I think all the acting was good. It does some things better than other stories. Like he's not, he's a very reluctant person as far as trying to take on this role, and he even sort of questions like, even if I am this mythical person, like, do people need that? Is that what the people actually need? Which I thought was kind of a good point, right?
Yeah.
That rather than, needing a singular savior, that they should be saving themselves and, things along those lines, that it shouldn't be about, a chosen one or anything silly. But at the same time, it's hard to get excited about the spice and, more sword fights in weird, like, invisible armor.
And you watch both of these on your TV at home, right?
I did.
Okay, you didn't go to the theater, okay.
No. But I have a nice 65-inch Samsung OLED, so I feel like I've got a pretty decent,
Well, I'm going to go to the theater when we're in California, because Dan and I are going to go see the James Bond movie, continue our tradition.
Okay.
So I'm going to go see the James Bond movie on the big screen. And that'll be the first time I've been in a theater in 2 years.
Yeah, I was we went to Target, and that's where we used to go. The movie theater was in that same area. And I think we decided the last movie we saw in the theaters was actually Crawl, the hurricane alligator movie.
Well, that's a while ago.
Yeah. We couldn't think of another theatrical release we had seen, so.
No.
And as I told you offline, I tried to have a food moment today, but it just didn't happen.
No, and my food moment is based upon my conversation with you and my conversation with Dan. Mom and I bought an air fryer, and I made wings in it, and they turned out really, really good.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I had, and to be honest, I know you guys had talked to me about it before you had one. It was watching that commercial that had the range that had an air fryer built into it.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't going to spend that kind of money to get an air fryer. I wasn't going to change my range out, but I thought, okay, I'll try this, and I was impressed with it.
And as I told you, if you're ever ordering, delivery food and you've got something like a French fry coming, you preheat the air fryer, throw the fries in for like a minute, and they're almost better. They're almost where they need to be. And then this is.
I'm actually thinking I want to do that now, just to see that, because that's always my complaint now. Whenever I have food delivered, or if I go get the food and bring it back.
Yeah.
And if I've chosen fries, it never works out.
I would say it like when you get Gold Belly pizza, and it's good, but it's never going to be as good as the theater. But it's about as good as you're going to get without actually eating it there. I think that's what the air fryer fry.
Princess pizza, that was really good.
Yeah, I think that's what the air fryer fries do, where it's like, they come in a little soggy from the condensation. You throw them in the air fryer for a minute, they crisp up, and they're as close as you're going to get, fresh again. And then,
got it.
I think leftover grilled chicken in the air fryer is fantastic.
Okay.
Because you can heat it up really quick, and it, when you grill chicken with the skin on, you get that little crispiness on the skin. Air fryer can put that back in like 3 minutes. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking I might want to do that with, if I went to Popeyes and got some chicken and brought it home.
Yeah, I mean,
And warmed it up in there.
we're probably underselling the cooking part, but the reheating part, it's fantastic. And everybody should have one, I guess.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, I I did the wings the other night, and I had some buffalo sauce from Chick-fil-A, and I did that, and I thought they were really, really good.
Nice.
It took a lot longer than I thought. It took like 30-some minutes.
Oh, okay. And we're continuing our air fryer talk if people are bored, but I know Dan and I both have one with a basket that'll turn the wings as you go, where you guys are non-basket, right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to, every 10 minutes, I have to open the drawer and shake the drawer.
Yeah. It's still, it's a really good, I think it's the best thing since the microwave.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good.
As far as, kitchen innovations. And before that, it was sliced bread, as everybody knows.
Cool.
Well.
All right, buddy. We'll look for the poll to come out on Tuesday night and see how they feel about all these things. But the next couple weeks, there should be lots of changes because, like I said, these teams play each other. What Jason and I was talking about, these teams play each other. And, once Michigan State picks up another loss, or Ohio State, or Michigan, they'll be out of that top 10.
Yeah. Gone. All right. Well, until next week.